50% off window treatments, and lots more. Stop in today, West Side Decorating Center. And a good morning to you. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. This hour, it's an old familiar theme because, I don't know, we've been doing this probably 15 years or so. And what happens is we do, of course, around Christmas time, a radiothon for the rescue ministries of mid-Michigan. But since they operate all year long, they occasionally need a cash influx other times of the year. And in the summer, a couple of years ago, a number of years ago now, they started a summer match program, which is going on now. To talk about it, the man in charge, the head of the rescue ministries of mid-Michigan, and we say good morning to Dan Streeter.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning.
You know, you covered that so well, I don't even know why I'm here.
Must have been nice talking to you. But it's true. I mean, you know, it's a year-round project, doesn't take any holidays.
Well, you know, this is the time of year that I think Michiganders live for. We finally hit a stretch of weather that is very comfortable in what we're used to. This, 80 degrees during the day.
And everybody heads out of town.
That's right. Which is just perfect. That's why we live in Michigan. We love these days, and so it's no surprise that a lot of times we don't think about homelessness, because a lot of times when people think about homelessness, they think of cold weather. And even it's true that there is problems with homelessness in the cold weather months, and that it can be more life-threatening during those times. We have a problem with homelessness all through the year, and interestingly enough, it spikes in the month of August. And can't put the finger on exactly what those reasons are. We believe a little bit of it is because some families are trying to make sure that they can establish a address for when their kids are getting back to school. Another piece is that I think sometimes family will extend a chance for someone to stay with them for a period of time, but then, maybe attitudes and tempers flare through the hot weather, and then they find themselves with no place to stay.
I heard you the other morning tell Charlie, I think that night there were 239 people.
Exactly, yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I don't remember a time like this where it's been in that 230, 240 range now for a long time, hasn't it?
It has been, and so we look back at COVID. COVID had changed a lot of things in society.
Yeah.
And for a period of time, it also changed the picture of homelessness for a short period of time. I think some people were scared to come into a congregate setting while COVID was happening. Plus, there was also a lot of funds that were available to be able to help sustain people where they were at.
Right.
And so there was a little blip there, but now, prior to COVID, we were seeing numbers start to increase, and now it's returned back to that. We've never had to have a sustained waiting list in the past, but now we do, because there are so many people that are still seeking a place to stay. And there's so many people in our state and in this region that are living, we say paycheck to paycheck, but what they're really doing is they're living right at the edge of poverty. So one thing happens, and then it unravels everything that they have tried to establish.
What's your capacity?
So we could go up to about 270, and but we hover right around that, usually around that 230 to 240 range. And one of the things that's unique about how we set up our structure is that we have family rooms designated for a family. So some of those rooms can accommodate 5 to 6 people, but if a family shows up with only 4 members, we don't put 2 families together in a room, and so we'll lose a couple beds of occupancy that way. But we really believe it's the best way to be able to have a healthy environment for people who are staying with us, is to let them stay within their family unit.
Have the length of stays changed?
After COVID, yes, the length of stays we've been seeing it consistently go upwards. And that really is more because of the lack of affordable housing that we have all across the country. That's no surprise all across the country, but it's definitely huge here in our region as well. And so people will work.
Which is a sad commentary, because this is one of the most affordable regions to live in the world.
It really it is, and to be able to find a place that for maybe $800 to $1,000 a month that they can rent. There's just not a lot of places like that. And then some of the places we're advising some of our guests, you really shouldn't set up. This isn't a healthy environment for you and your kids when you go into some of these places. We have some slumlords. You and I wouldn't spend a single night in some of these accommodations. And so we've seen where our shelter stays would somewhere range around 60 days. Now they go up closer to 90 days because of that, trying to find the right accommodations. We want to set up people in a place so then that way they don't have to experience homelessness again. And so if you put yourself into a spot where maybe you're with a slumlord, things are going to happen. Things aren't going to stay stable, and that housing can easily unravel.
Which is why you have so many programs over and above a bed.
Exactly. We're trying to make it. Our goal is that we want to try to treat people with dignity and respect and help restore hope for them from the day that they show up. And part of that is having a long-term goal so then that way they don't hopefully have to ever experience homelessness again. And so we're trying to get them to go to life skill classes and to sit down with a case manager and to figure out and to map out a plan so then that way they can sustain their monthly rent and so they can have a place that I'm not here for a couple months and then finding myself homeless again. And so everything from our Impact Designs program to our supportive parenting classes, to the life skill classes, it starts to meld all that in together.
Funny how it all takes money.
It does take a few dollars, but we average the average length of for a night is $30, and so we ask people to consider providing hope and care. That would be the 3 meals, the engagement with one of our case managers on a consistent basis whenever they need help, get transportation connected to the medical services, as well as they may qualify for GHS services. And so all of those layers of things and assessing mental health. So it's a partnership within the community, but also helping to get people on that safety, stable base so they don't have to ever experience homelessness again.
And we call this the summer match. So explain that and how they can contribute.
So we have some very faithful donors of the ministry. And when you're in existence for 120 years, you get a chance to be able to build some relationships. We're celebrating our 120th year.
Wow.
And to me, it's always amazing the partners who come alongside of us. So they're giving to help encourage you to give. And so they're going to match dollar for dollar up to $33,000. We have $33,000, so we could turn $33,000 to $66,000. And part of the reason why we're here is because your listeners are the lifeblood of this community. And I'm sure that many are donors. And then also they listen to you a little bit. So,
yeah.
Although sometimes when I listen to some of your callers, maybe they don't listen too much. But
Thanks. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back. We're talking to Dan Streeter. He is the executive director of the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. President, CEO, call him whatever you like. Just don't call him late for dinner. And we'll be back.
Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Kevin.
We
2 facilities, primary campuses is what I would call them. One's in Bay City, Good Samaritan Rescue Mission, and then the other City Rescue Mission of Saginaw. And so the efforts that we have combined with those together is why we call it Rescue Ministries. In the early 2000s, we saw the breadth of what we were doing, and so we officially changed the name to that. So then you take a look at the services that we've been able to add and the layers of that, the programs. In 2021, we were able to add on Samaritan Youth Services, which has continued to grow. It started with emergency shelter for youth 12 to 17 years old, licensed with the state of Michigan. And then it grew, added on to that Labadee Lofts, which is a unique opportunity for kids that are 18 to 22 to be able to have a rental situation, but it's targeting those kids who have experienced homelessness or been in the foster care system. Because so many of those kids, they've been just kind of cast aside And a lot of times a kid coming through the foster care system, once they turn 18, they can get some rental assistance, but they don't have what landlord wants to rent to an 18-year-old. So we created that new program. So now 10 kids, 10 apartments, efficiency sized, where we're working with them on vocational and getting connected to education and just getting that stable base, so then that way they can launch into their own life, because usually there's a lot of abandonment and nobody else around them.
So it's more than just a room and a bed.
Exactly.
It's a whole program.
Yeah. And then we also saw with our youth services that there was a niche of kids who were experiencing homelessness, but they were more difficult cases, and they didn't want to get reconciled back with family. And so for 16 and 17-year-old, we have what we call the Dowd House, which is transitional housing. So we can help walk alongside and provide a place for a kid for up to 18 months. So that's our youth services that we've been growing and continues to grow and see engagement with. And then in Saginaw, we built a warehouse for our Impact Designs ministry. So if you go to our website, rescuemidmichigan.org, you can see the things that we're trying to accept, everything from the clothing items to then also used furniture and household items. And so we launched that program, Impact Designs, so when a family moves out into that apartment, we help fully stock that house for them. It's what we call helping home happen. And we've done 171 of these types of setups over the last 4 years. Wow. And it is just amazing to see what happens, the joy that we can put onto a family's face, providing the beds for the kids and putting the linens on there and making sure they have towels and a microwave and plates and a dining room table, all of these elements, and to help them establish. And so where we would see about a 50% success rate that people would stay stably housed, we've now seen that percentage go up to 90%. So increasing 40%, that really goes a long way in helping people stay stably housed.
So I have to ask this, and I know we've talked about it before, but it's Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. The word ministries appears many times. You've said it several times. What's the role of God in all this?
So that's part of the reason why we show up to work. We have a staff of about 65. It fluctuates up or down one or two. And a core of volunteers that are passionate because we're supposed to love our neighbor. And we're supposed to help provide a place for and care for those that are in need. And so that's what motivates us on a daily basis. And we look for opportunities to share our faith and obviously the principles that have helped guide us and to sustain us. But it's not something that we force upon somebody. And so any of the things that people engage with, we try to provide those spiritual services for them. And we have multiple denominations from all across the region that are engaging, whether it's coming in and sharing with a devotion time or a chapel time at night, or helping to be a case manager, all these different elements and ways, serving a meal, these practical ways to show that we care for our neighbor. And then, we engage with people as they want. But, it's part of what we believe is if we can demonstrate it the right way, then people might be more intrigued. And that's part of what we believe is also the sustaining effort to be able to help get people to not repeat some of the things that have happened in their lives.
It's fair to say, though, that the Streeter family, from Ken to you and all the others, are very religious.
So it's at the core of our being. I wouldn't call it religious. I would say that dedicated. I would say that it's something that is a part of who we are. And so when I hear religious, I think of a discipline that we have to do. Whereas when I say dedicated, it's a part of our being. It makes up the decisions that we make and why we make them. So maybe a small nuance difference.
Yeah, but it's a driving force.
It is, and definitely the love of Christ is what compels us and why we do what we do. There's elements of maybe there's a lack of appreciation sometimes, or a frustration that maybe comes up, but at the end of the day, it's about, we know that there's a better plan, that ultimately God's in control, and so that helps us to say, let's show up the next day, because the next day can be better.
All right, so let's remind everybody again about the summer match going on right now.
So we have a pocket of money, $33,000, that we would like to take advantage of. We've got 2 weeks from now until the 15th.
And let's point out, you say you have a pocket of money, you have $33,000. That's match money. You don't get it until somebody makes a donation that gets matched with some of that money.
Right. So that donation was made to help stir on others to give as well and to become involved. And so you can go to rescuemidmichigan.org, and when you first come to that website, a pop-up will happen, and it'll take you right to the spot where you can make your donation. You can go to our Facebook page, and in fact, I would strongly encourage, you can see so many different pictures and stories of lives that have been changed, and you can see the link there as well to make the match, or you can call 989-755-HOPE. And along with this, if you're on our mailing list, there's a letter that's hitting the mailbox right now. Maybe it's already come to your mailbox. It's a part of this match campaign as well. So many different ways, or if you want to, you've never seen the mission, you can just jump in your car, come see it firsthand, see the effect of the dollars that you're donating. So we make it as easy as possible for you to engage and to make a difference.
I would recommend that. We all have preconceived notions about everything. I was born and raised in New York City, and my vision of what a mission was very skewed. My vision was the Bowery.
Right, yeah.
And I can remember the first time I stepped foot in the city rescue mission. And I walked around going, this isn't what I'm visioning. This is not how I see it. And then I walked into that chapel and I went, times have changed. This isn't your dad. This isn't your dad's old Bowery mission, so to speak.
That is very true. Even though that's the roots of where we have come. And many times people think, when they think about homelessness, they think about that alcoholic or that drug addict.
Well, that's the way it was portrayed in the movies and the media. I mean, that was the image.
Right. And it's so much more of a diverse picture. A mom with a couple kids, those that have, a medical issue that's come upon, living at the edge of poverty. There's so many different variable reasons. Mental illness also plays a huge role.
Things that scare me as I talk about this with you. Families, moms with kids finding themselves without a home. But 14, 15 years old, homeless?
Yeah.
How does that happen? We'll talk about it when we return here on the Art Lewis Show.
What does winning Powerball sound?
We're back with you, talking to Dan Streeter from the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. Their summer match campaign is on. They've got $33,000 that they can match donations with. And we'll remind you again how you can donate before we're done. And this happens every time I talk to you. I hear you say something and I go, oh, no, I don't believe that. You're talking about the youth in Bay City and homelessness in 14 to 17-year-olds. And I cannot in my mind conjure up the picture of a 14-year-old on the street without a home. Mm-hmm. How does that happen?
So, first of all, you have so many difficult home situations and families that are broken, and maybe dad gets incarcerated, or mom has a substance abuse issue, or mental illness is playing a role in there, and so there's not a safe family environment that so many of us can equate to that we grew up with. And so one of the stipulations of our youth shelter and part of the license is that we try to work towards family reconciliation. So that young person shows up and then whoever's the guardian also needs to sign for them to stay there. And then we're working on a 21-day plan to try to help get the supports that they need. Maybe it's family counseling or whatever's going on within that family to try to help get the family back together, the kid back into the home.
Some 14 or 15-year-old shows up at your door. Where do they get the guardian from?
So we're first starting with that 24-hour. We have 24 hours to try to assess what's the background, where you've come from, and who have you stayed with in the past, and who is your guardian. So every kid would have what would be identified as a guardian, and then we're going to have to potentially get CPS involved if there's no guardian that's identified. And so what we found, though, part of the reason why we needed to start the transitional housing is so many of these kids have escaped difficult situations, and the last thing they want to do is to go back into that.
Don't blame them.
Exactly. And so we were even dealing with one mom here recently, and we just felt so bad for the kid because all we needed to try to do was just get a signature for the mom so we could enter them into our transitional housing program. And mom refused to do so. And I think part of it is she's struggling with mental illness, and she didn't want her kid to have it better than her. And so it's just, you see what some of these kids are enduring, and it just, your heart goes out to them, which just means that we try to work even harder to try to help provide that stable place for them. Over 27,000 kids were identified in the state of Michigan as experiencing homelessness, and only about 1,000 of them actually made it into a shelter setting. So 26,000 kids across the state are couch surfing and they're in these vulnerable spots, just trying to make it from one day to the next. And that's what compels us to try to continue. Youth Protective Services here in Saginaw, as well as Samaritan Youth Services, have that wide range of services for troubled youth. And that's part of the hard work of trying to help work through the legal system and the licensing so we can help kids.
I got to ask this question. You may not want to answer it. You may not have an answer. You tell me there's 27,000 kids. I have to ask myself, is CPS broken? Is the foster care system broken? What's wrong with us?
Well, so CPS has the same struggles as what mental health has. It's a system that's overwhelmed with so many people, and you only have so many places that you can be able to help get people the treatment, to get people the placement that they need. So unless I really know that this kid is directly at risk, it's extremely difficult to get that kid out of that situation. And so you want to point the finger at either mental health, about the mental health issues that we see, or CPS, but it's not the worker's fault. It's the system that needs to continue to be modified.
Well, that's what I mean when I say, is it broken? Is the system broken?
It is. The system needs a revamp, and it needs more funding. It needs more places to be able to place kids and people, which is why we're compelled, why we added transitional housing beds. We continue to roll up our sleeves. Yeah, but the need is great out there. And if we don't do something now with these kids, they're going to become our eventual homeless. They're going to become our chronic homeless and those that are our next round of mental illness and substance abusers.
Yeah, because you say you need more beds for them, and mental health would give you the same argument. We need more mental health beds in this state.
And they're all right. They're all 100% right, which is also what has compelled us for a new project that we're going to be starting up this fall called the Overnight Drop-In Center in Bay City at Good Samaritan. And so this is a totally different outreach for those that are chronic homeless. This is the first time we've done it. I have a friend who runs the Lansing City Rescue Mission, and we saw a program that he was doing. And plus, at the same time, city leaders in Bay City saw an uptick in chronic homelessness and encampments. And so, to the city's credit, they're helping to fund this, and it's going to be right there at the campus of Good Samaritan. We're going to renovate about 2,500 square feet. We're going to start to work on that here in the next week or two, so that way we can be open this late fall And so that way when cold weather sets in, then we can be prepared. And so
This is more like just a bed for the night.
this isn't even a bed for the night, because those that are struggling with mental illness, it's a drop-in center. It's a safe spot, and we've seen this work amazingly. It's against what you and I would think of on an average night. If you're mentally ill or if you're in these situations, you're not necessarily thinking about a bed. You're just thinking about safety. And so there's a space that we'll clear out. You can come in, you can get a shower. You'll have a 4x4 square that you can put all your belongings. We'll give a meal during that time. And you can also do your laundry. So a place to come in from 8 o'clock in the night till 8 o'clock in the morning, and come night after night if you need to. And we're going to set up a space for 35. Totally unique, but it is engaging with those that are mentally ill and severe substance abuse in a way that I've not seen anywhere else, and which is why we were compelled to bring it here to this region.
So my question would be then, because they're just getting a 4x4 plot, so to speak, without a bed, it's an incentive to move into the bedded program and join the program.
So one of the things that we learned, and so, this is part of my job, is to go out there and to research and see what is working well within the country. And this is one of those examples. In Lansing, they have 60 to 80 people that come in on a given night. And it's a very, very small percentage are ever going to go into your shelter setting. You're trying to get them to connect and build trust with people who have totally disconnected, and trying to give them these very simple accommodations so that way you can start a relationship. Maybe you can help get them set up with rental assistance. Maybe you'll get them to go to a mental health assistance assessment. And you just take these small incremental steps, but eventually they do see them get placed directly into housing, and it's a great opportunity to engage with those that otherwise would never walk through the doors.
Talking to Dan Streeter from the Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. Their summer match campaign on. We're going to take a break, come back. We'll spend more time talking about the summer match and what it means to the missions.
Funds. And we would love to turn that into $66,000, because our attendance goes up, our occupancy goes up, and our donations go down because people get distracted in Michigan during the summer. So this is your chance to hopefully get your attention, make a gift, make double the impact. And you can go to rescuemidmichigan.org and go straight online to make the gift, or go through our Facebook page of Rescue Ministries, or you can call and talk to a person right now, 989-755-HOPE. Or you could write a check, put it in the mail the old-fashioned way, and just put on their summer match. And
Oh, you still take checks.
we do, yes.
Or you can do what some of us do and just set it up so they take it out of your checkbook every month.
We also have some very faithful partners that every month, yes, that give. It's so many different ways that people make a difference, and that we're just so thankful. After 120 years, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the generosities, and so that's why it's so important that we make sure that every dollar is accounted for and is used as the public trust. So we want you to know, and that's also part of coming and sharing today some of the things we're doing. It's more than just doing the same thing day out. We're trying to solve problems, and you are helping us to do that.
Have you ever thought, Dan, what was the original mission like?
I have read quite a bit about that, because with celebrating our 120th year, Mel Trotter started and founded our ministry way back then. And the first mission was right between two saloons. And so, yes, that
image, yeah.
Yeah, we had plenty of people to be able to help minister to. But then also, there's a gospel wagon that would go out into the neighborhoods. And every evening, late afternoon, anybody who wanted to jump on the wagon could come to the mission, get a meal, and to be able to hear a gospel service, and then they would take them back to their homes. So
That's
even
not
back
where the
then,
same fell off the wagon came from, was it?
I believe so. Yes, I haven't been able to knock that in 100%, but I like to think so.
Yeah. Just came to mind,
Yep.
So, again, let's remind everybody about how they can donate. And by the way, folks, this campaign runs till August 15th. The need goes on all year.
989-755-HOPE, or else go to rescuemidmichigan.org. And just once again, we would love to have you come in and take a look firsthand. And we also need volunteers. If you'd love to come and serve a meal, you can go to our website and see a lot of the opportunities.